The mining station floated in the darkness between stars. Arcturus 7 was far from Earth, far from any major civilization. Captain Minho stood at the observation window, watching asteroids drift past like slow-moving clouds. He sipped his coffee and checked the time. Another quiet day in deep space. Behind him, the command center hummed with the usual sounds. Screens blinked with data. Computers processed mining reports. His small crew of humans worked at their stations, comfortable in their routines. They had been out here for 8 months now, studying mineral deposits and sending reports back to Earth. "Captain, the morning scan is complete," said Taiho from his engineering console. The young man pushed his glasses up his nose and smiled. "Everything looks normal. No unusual activity in the sector." Minho nodded. Normal was good. Normal meant no pirates, no cosmic storms, no equipment failures. Just honest work mining asteroids and learning about space. The door slid open and Yuna walked in, carrying a small cage. Inside, a compact animal with black and white fur looked around with bright eyes. Minho smiled at the sight of Buster, Yuna's honey badger. The creature was young, barely a year old, but already showed the fearless personality his species was known for back on Earth. "Morning, everyone," Yuna said cheerfully. She was the station's xenobiologist, studying how Earth animals adapted to space travel. Buster finished his health check. "All his vitals are perfect." "That's good," Minho replied. He walked over and looked at the badger. Buster stared back at him without fear, even making a small chirping sound. "Hard to believe something so small caused such a fuss last week," Yuna laughed. "He just wanted to explore the ventilation system. I told the Coalition inspectors he was harmless, but they didn't believe me." The Coalition. Minho's smile faded slightly. 3 weeks ago, the Galactic Coalition had sent an oversight team to Arcturus 7. They wanted to monitor human activities in this sector. The team was led by Commander Krell, a tall reptilian alien from the Vextar species. Krell and his people had made it very clear they thought humans were primitive and weak. As if summoned by thought, the door opened again. Commander Krell entered, his scales gleaming under the lights. He was nearly 7 feet tall with sharp teeth and cold yellow eyes. Behind him came 2 of his officers, equally imposing. "Captain Minho," Krell said, his voice hissing slightly. "I require a status report on your mining operations." "Of course, Commander." Minho gestured to Taiho, who brought up the data on the main screen. "We've extracted 40 tons of refined ore this week. The new deposits are rich in rare metals." Krell studied the numbers with obvious disinterest. His eyes wandered around the command center, taking in the human crew, the Earth-style decorations, the photos of home on the walls. His gaze stopped on Yuna and her cage. "You still keep that creature?" Krell asked, walking closer. He peered down at Buster with obvious disdain. "What purpose does it serve?" "He's part of my research," Yuna explained calmly. "We're studying how Earth animals handle long-term space exposure. Buster helps us understand." "It is merely a cub," Krell interrupted. He tapped the cage with one clawed finger, making Buster hiss. "Your species forms emotional attachments to inferior life forms. This is weakness. The Coalition finds it amusing." Minho felt his jaw tighten, but he kept his voice level. "Our animals are companions and research subjects. They've adapted well to space." And adapted? Krell laughed, a rasping sound. "Captain, I have seen the predators of a dozen worlds. Your Earth creatures are soft, weak. They would not survive one day on a truly dangerous planet." He turned to his officers. "The humans think this badger is remarkable. Can you imagine?" The other aliens joined in his laughter. Minho noticed Yuna's face turning red, but she said nothing. Taiho looked down at his console. Even Hana, their security officer who had just entered the room, seemed uncomfortable. "Is there anything else, Commander?" Minho asked. "No. Continue your work." Krell moved toward the door, then paused. I almost forgot. Your long-range sensors detected something earlier. A vessel approaching from the outer rim." "A vessel?" Taiho quickly checked his screens. "I don't see anything on wait." "Yes, there it is. No identification beacon, no response to hails." Minho moved to look at the data. A ship was indeed approaching, moving steadily toward the station. Its profile was unfamiliar, not matching any known Coalition or human design. Parts of the hull appeared damaged, but the ship was still functional. "Distance?" Minho asked. "About 2 hours away at current speed," Taiho replied. "Should I send another hail?" "Yes, keep trying to contact them." Minho turned to Krell. Commander, do you recognize that ship design? Krell studied the image on screen. For the first time, his arrogant expression shifted to something else. Concern? Fear? It was hard to read alien faces. No, Krell said slowly. But I do not like vessels that do not identify themselves. I will alert my security team. He left quickly, his officers following. Yuna moved next to Minho, still holding Buster's cage. Captain, I've got a bad feeling about this. Me too. Minho watched the unknown ship get closer on the screen. Hana, get to the armory. Issue sidearms to all human personnel. Taiho, seal all non-essential sections and prepare to initiate emergency protocols. You think they're hostile? Hana asked. I think we should be ready for anything. The next hour passed in tense silence. The mystery ship continued its approach, ignoring all attempts at communication. Minho ordered the station to yellow alert. The coalition security team armed themselves with their advanced weapons. The human crew prepared as best they could. When the ship was 10 minutes away, Taiho finally got something. Captain, I'm picking up. It's not a standard transmission. It's a targeting scan. They're locking onto our docking port. Red alert! All hands to emergency stations. Minho's voice echoed through the station. This is not a drill. The unknown ship loomed larger on the screens. Its hull was scarred and dark. Weapons ports began to glow. And then, without warning, it fired a magnetic grapple that slammed into the station's docking bay. They're forcing a dock, Taiho shouted. I can't stop it. The station shuddered as the two vessels locked together. Alarms blared. Red lights flashed. Through the cameras, Minho watched the airlock cycle open. And then they came. Massive figures in dark armor poured through the breach. They were huge, easily 8 feet tall with 6 arms each carrying weapons. Their faces were hidden behind helmets, but their movements spoke of violence and purpose. Vraxis raiders, Hana whispered in horror. Oh God, they're Vraxis. Minho had heard the stories. Every spacefarer had. The Vraxis were the most feared pirates in the galaxy. They took what they wanted and left no survivors. No species had ever successfully fought them off, and now they were here, on his station. The first sounds of plasma fire echoed through the corridors. Screams followed. The invasion had begun. The Vraxis raiders moved through the station like a dark tide. Their heavy boots shook the metal floors. Plasma fire lit up the corridors in bursts of green and blue. Within minutes, they had spread throughout Arcturus 7, securing key positions with brutal efficiency. Commander Krell's security team tried to mount a defense near the main junction. Minho watched through security cameras as the Vextar warriors took positions behind barriers, their advanced weapons ready. Krell shouted orders in his language, confident in his superior technology and training. The confidence lasted exactly 12 seconds. The Vraxis came around the corner in a coordinated rush. Their 6 arms moved independently, each firing different weapons or throwing grenades. Krell's team managed to hit 3 of them, but the raiders' armor absorbed the shots like rain. Then the Vraxis were among them and it became a massacre. Minho tore his eyes away from the screen. Taiho, seal the command center. Authorization code Minho 7 Alpha. Heavy blast doors began sliding shut. Taiho's hands flew across his console. I'm locking down as many sections as I can, but they're overriding the controls. These guys know what they're doing. They've done this before, Hana said grimly. She checked her pistol, though they all knew how useless it would be against raiders who shrugged off military-grade plasma. Hundreds of times, probably. Through the internal communications, they could hear the chaos spreading. The insectoid chitters were chittering in panic. The crystalline prismatics made sounds like breaking glass as they tried to flee. The Vraxis showed no mercy to any of them. What do they want? Taiho asked, his voice shaking. The Novarium crystals, Minho said. We found that deposit last month. Command said it was worth billions. Somehow word got out. So they'll take the crystals and leave? There was hope in Taiho's voice. Hana shook her head. Vraxis don't leave witnesses, ever. A heavy impact hit the command center door. Then another. The raiders had found them. Minho drew his own weapon, knowing it was useless but unable to do nothing. The door was strong, but it wouldn't hold forever. There has to be another way out, Taiho said desperately. The maintenance shaft, Minho pointed to a panel in the corner. It connects to the lower levels. Maybe we can reach the escape pods. They ran to the panel, prying it open. The shaft was narrow and dark, but it was a chance. Behind them, the door groaned under repeated impacts. Dents were forming in the reinforced metal. Across the station in the biological research lab, Yuna had her own problems. She had been running tests when the alarm started. Young Suji, a 19-year-old intern, was with her. The girl's eyes were wide with terror as the sounds of battle echoed through the walls. "What do we do?" Suji whispered. "We're trapped. There's only one door." Yuna looked around the lab. Rows of enclosures lined the walls, each containing animals from Earth. There was a wolverine, a cassowary, several bull ants in a secure container, and of course, Buster in his habitat. All of them were part of her adaptation research. All of them had received genetic modifications to help them survive in space. The modifications were standard for Earth animals traveling beyond the homeworld. Enhanced immune systems, better oxygen efficiency, improved healing. But there were other changes too, ones that only activated under extreme stress. Yuna had supervised the procedures herself back on Earth. She knew what these animals were capable of. She had just never seen it in action. The lab door exploded inward. Sparks flew. Metal screeched. A massive figure ducked through the opening, so large it had to turn sideways to fit. The Vraxis Raider stood at full height, his helmet scanning the room. Suji screamed and pressed herself against the wall. Yuna stepped in front of the girl, her mind racing for options. The Raider's name tag said Grulnak in Coalition Standard. He carried weapons on 4 of his 6 arms. The other 2 reached out toward them. 2 humans, Grulnak said in broken Coalition language. His voice was deep and cruel. "Small, weak, you come with me. You are hostage now." "Please," Yuna said, keeping her voice steady. "We're just scientists. We don't have anything valuable." Grulnak laughed, a horrible grinding sound. His eyes moved around the lab, seeing the animals in their enclosures for the first time. He stepped closer to Buster's habitat, studying the honey badger with curiosity. "What is this?" Grulnak poked the transparent wall. Buster, who had been sleeping, woke up and looked at the Raider. "So small, like baby. Like cub." "He's a research animal," Yuna said quickly. "Not dangerous." "Please, just... Your people keep cubs as guards?" Grulnak laughed again. "Pathetic. This why humans weak. You make pets of babies." He turned back to Suji, reaching for her with one massive hand. "You come now. Make good hostage." Suji screamed again as the hand closed around her arm. Yuna lunged forward, trying to pull the Raider away, but it was like pushing against a mountain. Grulnak barely noticed her. That was when Buster's eyes began to glow. It started as a faint luminescence, just a flicker of blue-white light deep in the badger's pupils. Then it grew brighter, spreading through his entire gaze. His fur stood up. His compact body tensed. Every muscle in his small frame suddenly looked defined, powerful, ready. The genetic modifications were activating. The ones designed for extreme danger. The ones that took Earth's natural predators and made them into something more. Yuna saw it happening and felt ice run through her veins. "Oh no, everyone get back." Buster moved so fast he seemed to teleport. 1 second he was in his enclosure. The next he was out, having somehow triggered the emergency release panel. The panel was designed for human hands, requiring 3 separate switches pressed simultaneously. Buster had figured it out in seconds. The 40-pound honey badger launched himself at the 300-pound Raider. What happened next would be talked about for years across the galaxy. Buster hit Grulnak with the full force of his enhanced body, claws extended, teeth bared. The Raider's armor was designed to stop plasma weapons, kinetic rounds, even explosives. It was not designed to stop an Earth predator with claws that could tear through tree bark and teeth that could crack bone. Grulnak screamed. The sound was pure shock and pain. He tried to grab Buster, but the badger was too fast, too furious. Honey badgers were famous on Earth for their aggression and refusal to back down. They fought lions. They fought leopards. They fought venomous snakes and won. And that was before the genetic enhancements. Buster found gaps in the armor at the joints and neck. He found them instantly, instinctively. Blood sprayed. The Raider stumbled backward, trying desperately to dislodge his attacker. His weapons fired wildly, hitting walls and equipment. But Buster held on, his glowing eyes bright as stars, his teeth and claws doing terrible work. "Impossible," Grulnak roared. "Impossible." "It's just cub." More Raiders appeared at the door, drawn by their comrades' screams. They saw the scene and hesitated, unable to process what they were witnessing. The most feared warriors in the galaxy were watching a small Earth animal destroy one of their own. Yuna didn't hesitate. She ran to the control panel and hit the emergency release for all the enclosures. Every single one. The wolverine exploded from its habitat with a snarl. The cassowary burst out with its powerful legs already kicking. Even the bull ants released from their container swarmed toward the raiders with coordinated aggression. "Run!" Yuna grabbed Suji and pulled her toward the emergency exit. Behind them, the sounds of battle intensified. Raiders shouted in confusion. Animals attacked with impossible ferocity. And above it all, Buster's savage growls echoed through the lab. As they fled down the corridor, Yuna heard Grulnak's final scream cut short. She didn't look back. She just ran, pulling Suji along, while behind them the galaxy learned a hard lesson. Never underestimate Earth. The news spread through the raider ranks like electricity. Grulnak was dead, not just dead but torn apart by something small, something the humans called a cub. The warriors who found his body stood in silence, unable to believe what they saw. His armor was shredded, his weapons lay scattered, and blood covered everything. "What did this?" one raider whispered. "Animal," another replied. "Earth animal. Small thing with glowing eyes." In the captured sections of the station, Vraxis raiders began looking over their shoulders. They were veterans of countless raids across dozens of star systems. They had fought trained soldiers, battle robots, and even wild predators from death worlds. But they had never encountered anything like this. The fear was new. They didn't like it. Thaxron, the raid leader, stood in the main cargo bay surrounded by his officers. He was the largest of them all, his armor decorated with the symbols of 100 victories. Before him, the other raiders reported the situation. It was not going as planned. "The Novarium crystals are secured," one officer said, "but we've lost contact with teams 3, 7, and 9. Lost contact? Thaxron's voice was dangerous. "What do you mean?" "Communications went dead, Commander. When we sent reinforcements, they found—" The officer hesitated. "Bodies. Our warriors killed by something that moves through the ventilation system. Something fast. The humans fight back?" Thaxron asked. "No, Commander. Not humans, animals. Earth creatures released from the biological lab. Small ones, but—" The officer struggled to find words. "They fight like demons. They don't stop. They don't fear. And they coordinate with the humans somehow." Thaxron slammed his fist on the console, denting the metal. "We are Vraxis. We have conquered systems. And you tell me we are hunted by pets?" But even as he spoke, doubt crept into his mind. He had heard the recordings. Grulnak's screams. The other warriors calling for help. The panic in their voices. Vraxis did not panic. Yet here they were. Through the ventilation shaft above the cargo bay, two small eyes glowed blue-white in the darkness. Buster had found his next target. Meanwhile, Minho and Taiho had made it to the lower engineering level. They crawled through maintenance tunnels, avoiding raider patrols. Taiho carried a tablet, monitoring what remained of the station's systems. "I'm picking up Hana's emergency beacon," Taiho whispered. "She's in the medical bay, 2 levels up. But there are raiders between us and her." "We have to try," Minho said. "We need to regroup." They climbed through access shafts and crept through darkened corridors. Twice they heard raiders pass nearby and froze, barely breathing until the danger moved on. The station felt different now. The familiar halls had become a war zone. When they finally reached the medical bay, they found Hana barricaded inside with 3 injured coalition soldiers. One of them was Commander Krell himself, his arm badly burned. "Captain," Krell said when they entered. His voice was weak, the arrogance completely gone. I am glad you survived. What happened?" Minho asked, helping seal the door behind them. "They overran us in minutes. My warriors, my weapons, nothing worked. The Vraxis are—" Krell paused, shame on his reptilian face. "They are what we pretended to be. True warriors." Hana looked at Minho. "Have you seen what's happening out there?" "The animals." "We saw," Minho interrupted. He moved to a computer terminal and accessed what security cameras still functioned. The screens showed scenes throughout the station. Raiders moving in groups, weapons ready. But they moved cautiously now, checking every shadow, every vent. One camera showed the corridor outside the biological lab. Bodies lay on the floor. Vraxis bodies. And moving between them, checking each one carefully, was the Wolverine. Its eyes glowed the same blue-white as Buster's. When it was satisfied they were dead, it slipped into an air duct and vanished. Another camera caught the cassowary in the station's greenhouse section. 2 raiders had cornered it there, confident they could kill one bird. The cassowary's legs moved faster than the eye could follow. Its powerful kicks struck with the force of sledgehammers. In seconds, both raiders were down. The bird made a strange sound, almost like satisfaction, and walked away. The genetic modifications. Yuna's voice came through the intercom. Minho jumped, then quickly answered. Yuna, where are you? Storage level C with Suji, we're okay. Listen, the animal's enhancements activated. I've never seen it happen before, but the stress triggered everything at once. Increased strength, speed, aggression. The bioluminescence is a threat display. They're operating on pure instinct now. Can you control them? Minho asked. Maybe. We trained them with ultrasonic signals. If I can reach the emergency equipment locker, I have a controller, but Yuna's voice wavered. Captain, they're hunting. They see the raiders as threats and they won't stop until the threats are eliminated. Taiho looked at Minho with wide eyes. The raiders are being hunted. By Earth animals. Not just animals, Hana said, pointing to another screen. Look, the camera showed a junction where 3 corridors met. A group of 5 raiders was there, weapons ready, backs to each other in defensive formation. They knew something was wrong. They just didn't know where the attack would come from. Then Buster dropped from a ceiling vent. The Badger landed on the lead raider's helmet and immediately began tearing at the seals. His claws found purchase. His teeth crunched through metal. The raider spun and fired, but Buster was already moving, leaping to the next enemy. What made it worse for the raiders was the coordination. As Buster attacked from above, the Wolverine burst from a floor grate. The bull ants swarmed from wall panels, and in the chaos the cassowary charged from a side corridor, its powerful legs a blur. The 5 raiders tried to fight. They were brave. They were skilled. But they were facing something they had never encountered before. Earth's predators had evolved through millions of years of competition. They had learned to hunt, to kill, to survive against impossible odds. And now those predators had enhancements that pushed their abilities beyond natural limits. When it was over, the raiders lay motionless. The animals regrouped, checked each other for injuries, then moved on. They were hunting as a pack now, coordinated, efficient, deadly. By the stars, Krell whispered. We mocked them. We called them cubs. Minho watched the screens, his mind racing. The raiders were reeling, confused, taking losses. But they still controlled most of the station. They still had the Novarium crystals. And eventually they would adapt to this threat. We need to use this, Minho said. The animals have bought us time. We need to take back the station. How? Hana asked. We're scattered, we're outgunned, and we have something they don't, Minho interrupted. He pulled up a map of the station on his tablet. We know this place. Every shaft, every tunnel, every hidden route. And we have allies who can move through walls. He activated the station-wide intercom, broadcasting on the human frequency. All personnel, this is Captain Minho. If you can hear me, listen carefully. The animals are fighting for us. Now we fight for them. I'm sending coordinates for a rally point. Grab whatever you can use as a weapon and make your way there. Avoid direct confrontation. Use the maintenance routes. Stay quiet. Stay smart. And stay alive. He switched to another frequency, one Yuna had set up for the animal training. It broadcast ultrasonic patterns that the enhanced creatures could hear and respond to. Minho didn't know if it would work, but he had to try. Come home, he broadcast in the pattern Yuna had taught meant safety. Come home. Throughout the station, in vents and tunnels and dark corners, glowing eyes paused. Ears perked up. And slowly the animals began moving toward the signal. In the cargo bay, Thaxron watched his tactical display with growing concern. He had lost 15 warriors. 15. To creatures that weighed less than a combat pack. The numbers made no sense. The situation made no sense. New orders, he growled. Capture the humans alive. All of them. And capture those animals. I want to know what makes them so dangerous. His officers hesitated. Commander, capturing them alive will be difficult. I don't care. Do it, the Vraxis fear nothing. We will show these humans and their pets what real warriors can do. But even as he gave the order, Thaxron felt something he had not felt in years. Uncertainty. And beneath that, lurking in the shadows of his mind, was the smallest seed of fear. The rally point was Engineering Bay 2, deep in the station's lower levels. Minho had chosen it carefully. It had multiple escape routes, good cover, and most importantly, Taiho could access the station's main systems from there. One by one, survivors made their way through the maintenance tunnels. A dozen humans arrived first, engineers and scientists carrying improvised weapons. Then came some coalition personnel who had escaped the initial assault. Even a few prismatics arrived, their crystalline bodies dimmed with fear. Yuna arrived with Suji, both exhausted from their run through the corridors. Behind them came the animals. Buster led the way, his eyes still glowing but less bright now. The wolverine padded beside him. The cassowary walked with its head high, alert. The bull ants moved in formation along the walls. When Buster saw Minho, the badger made a small chirping sound and ran to him. Minho knelt down, and the deadly predator that had killed trained warriors climbed into his lap like a puppy. The glow faded from his eyes. He yawned, showing bloody teeth, then curled up for a nap. "He's exhausted," Yuna said, checking Buster over. "They all are. The enhancements take a lot of energy. They can't maintain this level of aggression for long." "How long do we have?" Minho asked. "Maybe an hour before they need to rest and eat. After that, several hours to recover." Minho looked at his gathered crew. 23 humans, 7 coalition survivors, 4 enhanced animals, against at least 40 Vraxis raiders with military-grade weapons and armor. "We need a plan," Hana said. She had found a plasma rifle from a fallen coalition soldier and was checking its charge. "The animals bought us time, but we're still massively outgunned." Taiho worked at a terminal, his fingers flying across the keyboard. "I've got partial access to station systems. I can control some doors, lights, and gravity generators, but the raiders have locked me out of everything critical." "Gravity generators?" Minho's eyes lit up. "Can you create localized fields?" "Yes, but only in specific sections. Why?" "Because the Vraxis evolved on a high-gravity world. Their armor compensates, but if we suddenly change gravity in a room, they'll be disoriented." Minho pulled up a map. "The raiders are spread throughout the station in patrol groups. If we can lure them into a trap..." "They won't fall for obvious traps," Commander Krell said. He had recovered somewhat, though his burned arm was bandaged. "Thaxron is their leader. He's cunning and experienced." "Then we don't make it obvious," Minho replied. He pointed to the map. "The Novarium crystals are here in the main cargo bay. That's what they came for. They'll guard it heavily, but they'll also want to move it to their ship soon. When they do, they'll need to go through these corridors." He traced several routes with his finger. "We hit them during the transfer," Hana said, understanding. "Use the animals as shock troops, then follow up with modified gravity and whatever weapons we have." "No," Yuna said firmly. "I won't send the animals into certain death. Look at them. They're practically sleeping standing up." She was right. The wolverine had found a corner and was curled into a ball. The cassowary sat on the floor, its eyes half closed. Even the bull ants moved sluggishly. Only Buster remained alert, and that was because Minho was petting him. "We don't need them to fight," Minho said. "We just need them to be seen, to maintain the fear." He looked at Taiho. "Can you hack into the internal cameras and loop recordings of the animals attacking?" Taiho grinned. "Oh, that's brilliant." "Yes, I can do that. The raiders will see animals everywhere. They'll be jumping at shadows." "Meanwhile," Minho continued, "we divide into teams. Team 1 goes high, through the upper maintenance shafts. Team 2 goes low, through the service tunnels. When the raiders move the crystals, we hit them from both sides in a section where Taiho has gravity control." They spent the next 20 minutes planning details. Who would go where? What signals to use? How to coordinate without radio, since the raiders might be listening. It was desperate and dangerous, but it was a chance. Suji raised her hand timidly. "Captain, I want to help." "You've done more than enough," Minho said gently. "You survived." I can control the bull ants," Suji interrupted. She held up a small device. "Yuna taught me. I can guide them through the ventilation system. They're small enough to scout ahead, tell us where the raiders are." Yuna looked surprised, then proud. "She's right. Suji has been working with the ants for months. They respond to her better than anyone." Minho studied the young intern. She was scared, obviously, but there was steel in her eyes. "All right. You'll stay here with Taiho, safe in the command center. Use the ants as scouts only. If there's danger, you pull them back immediately." Suji nodded, relief and determination mixing on her face. The plan went into effect. Taiho began broadcasting looped footage of the animals throughout the station. On screens everywhere, raiders saw Buster leaping from shadows, the wolverine charging down corridors, the cassowary kicking, The same clips played over and over, but in the stress and fear, the raiders couldn't tell. There. In Section 9.
No, it's in Section 12.
They're everywhere. The Vraxis warriors started shooting at shadows, wasting ammunition on empty corridors. Their disciplined formation broke down as fear overrode training. Suji guided the bull ants through the vents, their mandibles clicking as they scouted. Captain, the raiders are gathering in the cargo bay. Looks like they're preparing to move the crystals. How many? Minho asked through the secure line. I count 20, maybe 25. They're bringing anti-grav sleds for transport. That's more than half their force in one place, Hana said. If we can hit them there, no, Minho replied. They're expecting an attack at the cargo bay. We hit them in the corridor, Section 8 Delta, where they have to pass through a narrow junction. Teams moved into position. Minho led the high team through ceiling crawl spaces, moving slowly and silently. Hana took the low team through floor tunnels. They had plasma rifles, improvised explosives, and hope. Commander Krell insisted on coming despite his injury. I underestimated you once. I won't make that mistake again. My warriors died because of my arrogance. Let me help make it right. In the cargo bay, Thaxron watched his warriors load the Novarium crystals onto transport sleds. The glowing blue stones were worth more than entire planets. With this score, his crew would be legends among raiders. But the cost had been high. Too high. 20 warriors lost to small earth creatures. The shame of it burned like acid in his blood. Commander, one of his officers said, the animals have been spotted again. Multiple locations. Impossible. There weren't that many of them. Thaxron studied the reports. Something was wrong. The sightings were too frequent, too widespread, unless... It's a trick, recordings. The humans are playing with us. Sir? Forget the animals. They're probably half dead by now. Focus on getting the crystals to the ship. Maximum speed, full escort. The convoy moved out. 20 Vraxis warriors surrounding 3 sleds of precious crystals. They moved through the corridors in tight formation, weapons ready, eyes scanning for threats. They reached Section 8 Delta without incident. The narrow junction ahead was the fastest route to their ship. Thaxron didn't like it, too confined, but speed was now more important than caution. Double time through the junction, he ordered. The first sled entered the junction, then the second. The warriors filed in, surrounded by their prize. The third sled was halfway through when Tejo struck. The gravity in Section 8 Delta went from normal to 3 times normal in an instant. Vraxis raiders built for high gravity could handle it, but their armor couldn't compensate fast enough. Warriors stumbled. The sleds crashed to the floor with ear-splitting cracks. Then the gravity reversed. 0G. Everyone floated upward, disoriented, weapons spinning uselessly. That's when both teams attacked. Plasma fire came from above and below. Explosives detonated in the weightless environment, sending raiders tumbling. In the chaos and confusion, the superior weapons and armor meant nothing. They're broken. Hana shouted, "Press the attack!" But Thaxron was not a successful raider by accident. Even floating in zero gravity, even under attack from 2 sides, he rallied his warriors. Return fire. Shields up! Protect the crystals. The battle raged for 3 minutes that felt like 3 hours. Then Tejo restored normal gravity suddenly. Everyone fell. Humans hit the floor and rolled. Raiders, heavier and armored, crashed hard. When the dust settled, half of Thaxron's force was down. The humans had taken casualties too, but they held the junction. The crystals were damaged, some cracked but still valuable. Thaxron looked at Minho across the corridor. The human captain stood with his small crew, weapons raised. Behind him, at the end of the hall, a small badger watched with glowing eyes. You fight well, Thaxron said slowly. Better than I expected. Surrender, Minho replied. You're beaten. Let this end. We are Vraxis. We do not surrender. Thaxron raised his weapon. Then Buster started walking toward him, eyes blazing blue-white. And Thaxron felt something he had not felt in 20 years of raiding. He felt afraid. Buster walked slowly down the corridor toward Thaxron. His small body moved with purpose, each step deliberate. His eyes glowed like twin stars, casting blue-white light across the walls. Behind him, the other animals emerged from their hiding spots. The wolverine, the cassowary, even the bull ants appeared, streaming from vents in perfectly coordinated lines. Thaxron stood his ground, though every instinct told him to retreat. He was a warrior. He had faced death 1,000 times. But this was different. This small creature, barely the size of his boot, had killed 20 of his best fighters. His 6 arms tensed, 2 holding weapons, the others ready to grab and throw. Just a cub, Thaxron said, trying to convince himself. You called it just a cub. I never called him that, Minho replied. He stood 10 feet behind Buster, his own weapon lowered. You did. That was your mistake. The badger stopped 5 feet from Thaxron. He sat down on his haunches and stared at the massive raider. His glowing eyes never blinked. His teeth were visible, still stained with alien blood. He made no sound. He just waited. What does he weigh? Thaxron asked, not taking his eyes off Buster. 18 kilograms, Una answered from her position behind cover. About 40 pounds. I weigh 160 kilograms. Thaxron's voice was bitter. 4 times his size. Better armor, better weapons, and yet your companion killed warriors just as large as me. Killed them easily. Size isn't everything, Minho said. Earth taught us that lesson a long time ago. The biggest predators don't always survive. The smartest ones do, the most determined ones. Thaxron looked from the badger to Minho, then to the rest of the human crew. They were battered, exhausted, some injured, but they stood ready to fight again if needed. Behind them, Commander Krell and the Coalition survivors watched silently. You fought well, Thaxron said finally. All of you. You used terrain, tactics, and your companions to counter our advantages. This is unexpected. We're not as weak as you thought, Hana said, her rifle still aimed at the raider leader. No. Thaxron slowly lowered his weapons. You are not. He looked at his remaining warriors scattered through the junction. Some were wounded. All were watching to see what their leader would do. Minho took a step forward. Your ship is still docked. Your crew is still intact. Take your people and leave. The crystals stay here. Walk away and this ends peacefully. And if I refuse? Thaxron asked. Buster's eyes flared brighter. The wolverine growled. The cassowary stood taller, its powerful legs tensing. Then we finish this fight, Minho said quietly. And I promise you it won't end well for any of us. More of your warriors will die. More of my people will die. Is that what you want? Thaxron was silent for a long moment. The corridor was so quiet they could hear the hum of the station's life support systems. Finally, the massive raider did something that shocked everyone present. He knelt. In Vraxis culture, kneeling meant acknowledging a superior warrior. It was a gesture of the highest respect, rarely given and never given lightly. His warriors stared in disbelief. Some reached for their weapons, confused by their leader's action. Stand down. Thaxron ordered them. His voice was firm. All of you, lower your weapons, Commander, one warrior questioned. I said stand down. Thaxron's voice echoed through the corridor. Slowly, reluctantly, the other raiders lowered their weapons. Thaxron looked up at Minho from his kneeling position. I came here to take treasure. I thought it would be easy. Humans were weak. Everyone said so. The Coalition, the traitors, even your own species speaks of your softness. We're not soft, Minho said. We're adaptable. Yes, I see that now. Thaxron gestured to Buster, who still sat watching him. I have fought across 100 worlds. I have faced every kind of warrior the galaxy has produced, but I have never seen anything like this creature. What is he? A honey badger, Una explained, moving closer cautiously. From Earth. They're small omnivores, but they're famous for their aggression and fearlessness. They fight animals 10 times their size. They survive venomous bites that would kill most creatures. They never give up. Never back down. We just enhanced what evolution already created. And you live with these creatures? Thaxron asked in wonder. On your homeworld? They live with us, Minho corrected. Earth is full of life. Millions of species, all competing, all adapting. Humans aren't the strongest or the fastest, but we learned to work with other species. Dogs help us hunt. Cats control vermin. Horses carry us. We don't see other animals as inferior. We see them as partners. Thaxron stood slowly, never taking his eyes off Buster. This changes everything. If this is just one small creature from your world, what else does Earth have? Bears, Hana said with a slight smile. They weigh 600 kilograms. Lions, crocodiles, sharks. Elephants that weigh 6,000 kilograms. Snakes with venom that kills in minutes. Insects that eat metal. And that's just the ones we know about. The raider leader's expression shifted from shock to something like respect. And humans coexist with all of these. We don't just coexist, Tejo added. We tamed some of them. We learned from others. We adapted to survive alongside them. That's what humans do. We adapt. Thaxron looked at his warriors again. They were watching him, waiting for orders. Some looked angry. Some looked confused. But a few, the smarter ones, looked thoughtful. "We will leave," Thaxron announced. "We will leave the crystals. We will leave this station and never return." He turned to Minho. "But I will spread word of what I learned here. The Vraxis respect strength. Your species has strength we did not expect. Your companion—" He looked at Buster again. "Your companions are warriors worthy of legend." "Just don't call them cubs," Una said dryly. Buster yawned, showing those bloody teeth, then started grooming his paws as if bored by the whole conversation. Thaxron actually laughed, a deep rumbling sound. "No, I will not make that mistake twice." He nodded to his warriors. "Gather the wounded. We leave now." As the Vraxis began helping their injured comrades, Commander Krell approached Minho. The Vextar officer's shame was visible on his reptilian face. "Captain Minho," Krell said formally, "I owe you an apology. I called your species weak. I mocked your companions. I was wrong. Completely and utterly wrong." "You were following what everyone told you," Minho replied without bitterness. "The galaxy only saw what we showed them. Scientists, explorers. We're peaceful by choice, not by weakness." "I will submit a full report to the Coalition Council," Krell said. "I will recommend complete reversal of all threat assessments regarding humanity. Your species deserves respect, not ridicule." Una knelt down and picked up Buster. The badger immediately curled into her arms, the glow fading from his eyes completely. He looked like what he was, a young animal tired after a long day. Within seconds he was asleep, snoring softly. "Look at him," Una said gently. "An hour ago he was the most dangerous thing on this station. Now he's just a sleepy baby who wants dinner and a nap." Suji approached, the bull ants following her in neat rows. The ants need rest too, and food. They worked so hard today. As the Vraxis filed out of the station boarding their damaged ship, Thaxron paused at the airlock. He looked back at the humans one final time. Minho stood there with his crew, battered but victorious. In his arms, Una held a sleeping badger. It should have been ridiculous. It should have been laughable. But Thaxron had seen what that badger could do. He had seen what Earth's creatures were capable of when protecting their pack. "Question," Thaxron said to Minho. "If that small one is just a cub, and you have creatures much larger on your world, what would happen if you brought a full-grown bear to space? Or one of these elephants you mentioned?" Minho smiled. "Honestly? We haven't tried yet. The enhancements work best on smaller animals. We're still studying the effects on larger species." "Then I pray to every god I know that you never figure it out," Thaxron said seriously. "Because if you do, the galaxy will have to completely reconsider who the apex predators really are." He saluted, a gesture of warrior to warrior, and entered his ship. Within minutes, the Vraxis vessel undocked and disappeared into the darkness of space. 3 months later, at Galactic Coalition headquarters, Commander Krell stood before the High Council. He submitted his report along with footage from the station's cameras. The council watched in silence as a 40-pound honey badger destroyed armored warriors. They watched as Earth's animals hunted professional raiders like prey. They watched as humans and animals worked together with impossible coordination. When the presentation ended, the prismatic counselor spoke first. "Remarkable. We have completely misunderstood this species. Not just this species," the Chitter representative added, "the entire planet. Earth is classified as a low-threat world in our databases. I move we change that classification immediately." The motion passed unanimously. Earth was reclassified as a high-threat world. All Coalition vessels were advised to approach human space with respect. And most importantly, a new warning was added to every diplomatic file about humanity. Do not underestimate their companions. What appears to be a harmless pet may be a weapon waiting to activate. Back on Arcturus 7, life slowly returned to normal. The station was repaired. New security systems were installed. The Coalition sent official apologies and compensation for the attack.